Good day, good morning, and good evening, Commanders. I'm here with part 2 of our chemical analysis. With that, let's get straight into it. Last video, we looked at the better side. Now on to the worse one. Welcome, Commanders. So, today we are on the worse side of chemical, and we are going to learn how we win with this disadvantage. Last video, we talked about the better side and how they can put pressure on our backzone and alpha, and how they basically get to here in Gulf, and how they have a wonderful time seizing our space here. So we have to find a way to stop their advantage and make it so that we are advantageous. How will we do that? Well, in basically all of my games, I always have something small, like a recon helicopter, go to the left, just to overlook if my enemy is going for alpha. And if they are going to alpha, I will divert some resources. So that's alpha taken care of. Our disadvantage at alpha has been taken care of by simply just garrisoning it with a cheap recon unit that can stop anything coming down, or like a recon helicopter, or something like that. So we've dealt with the first disadvantage of our position. Moving on to the next one. The next one is that our opponent basically gets really up here far in Gulf. The way we're going to stop this is by deploying into one of these buildings and then backing it up with fire support or recon fire support. Obviously this is FD. If you do not have FD, you will not make it up here. If you do not have FD, like, you're gonna have a hard time getting to even up here in my opinion. But somewhere around here, play passively if you do not have FD, and bring up your recon helicopters early on to see if your opponent is aggressing down this road. If the enemy is not coming down this road, then feel free to just you be the aggressive one and deploy where you should have in the first place. So we've dealt with our second disadvantage. Our third one is the most late game disadvantage, and it is that our enemy's part of our zone is very holdable and defendable, whereas our part of our enemy's zone, not so much. If you take a look, what our opponent gets into ours is lots of buildings, good cover to place everything in, and he is living the life. Whereas what we get a couple of trees, this, and the rest of it is just open space. And this building, basically. So, it's really hard to play from this when it comes to a 40-minute game. But the way you will win it is by focusing most of your units, most of your attack and units on this position and breaking it early. And so you'll see a little part, basically, you're allowing your enemy to take the left side because, in our opinion, or our idea, is to go around them, stop them, and then turn back and kill them from the back. So our enemy decides, when he sees that we're stacking this, our enemy decides, okay, I'm going to push this. Our enemy pushes this, our enemy is now located somewhere down here. The idea that we have is to just keep going, drive around, cut off his island, and then come back to him and attack him from two sides, and also from the south here that you'll see very soon. So, for our enemy, it's hard to cut off our island. As you can see, this bridge, it's pretty hard to cut off because you need to get to here, and well, you're not really getting to there, are you? So, as the red side here, as this side, which is red, we'll call it red. So them cutting off our bridge is pretty hard, whereas us cutting off theirs is pretty easy in my opinion. The reason being is that he has to advance over zero cover, and we get lots of it, and we can retreat into the buildings. Whereas if you take a look, the bridge crossing here on our side is filled with forests. So any type of things he places here, it's going to be a fair fight. And usually when we outnumber him 2 to 1, it's gonna be we're gonna win that fair fight, right? Whereas if none of this cover ever existed and he got to here, well then we would have problems. But it isn't like that. So cutting off this bridge pretty hard. And the fact that he has to get to here in the first place, which in my opinion is really hard, because for him to get there, if you are the one stacking, if you're stacking here, if you're stacking this, him getting to here, he needs to break through all of this, which is in my opinion hard because there's so many buildings in the back of your zone that protects this basically. That's the thing. So the idea is to let your opponent, my bad, is to let your opponent in to here, fine, he can take it. Into here as well, fine, he can take it. We're gonna play here, we're gonna play here, we're gonna play here, and we're gonna continue our stack. We're gonna cut him off, and then we're gonna turn around, and then we attack him from all sides, and he dies. Whilst you are attacking the right. So let's go over the deployment. The deployment, in my opinion, consists of an FD unit going to seizing space in Delta, obviously justified with a recon helicopter, like I always say. Always start with at least 2 recon helicopters on any map. Maps that have more lanes should start with more helicopters. However, we do not need more than 2. Actually, we do. We need 3. Like I said, there's this lane. So there are 3 lanes. Start with 3 recon helicopters and send them. Actually, the left one, do not send the left one to die. The left one, you just want defense to check if things are coming down the left lane. The middle one you want to send to die, and the right one you want to send to die, just to get intel out of them. Now, with this one, when you're going up here, your KCTs will be justified with this recon helicopter. If you can get into their zone, perfect. If you can't, alright, you'll stay out of it. Bring up recon fire support, bring up fire support, bring some AA and a CV. Around, let's call it 400 points, no more. Around 400 points spent taking Delta, should take it mostly all of the time, in my opinion. On the left, you can spend around 100 points. I would say so. That seems reasonable. 100 points max to the left. You can have more if you want, but I have never seen myself spend more than 100 on the left. And then the rest of your points go into, well, where we said we would focus. And of course have a little garrison here of whatever unit you can scramble. Some KCT Vercaners just placed here to defend will be fine. So the typical deployment, you have 2 KCTs around here, around here. We have 2 more KCTs going on top of this one. So we have these 2. They're gonna deploy to here and to here basically. Sometimes I like to deploy up here and then push up if I'm scared or paranoid or anything that's coming down here. Of course, you can play it like this and like this. You can get creative, doesn't have to matter. Bring up recon fire support. Have recon fire support whatever fight you're gonna take for these early buildings, if there even is going to be one. Again, you'll know everything with that recon helicopter. The recon helicopter is really good because it gives you time to think about a counter offensive or counter plan, or plan how you're going to deal with whatever you saw that your enemy is doing. So that's why recon helicopters are really good. And they also give you intel where the enemy is going, what they're gonna be doing, what units they have, and like what their general plan is. So, like we said, recon fire support, we win this early fight, and then we bring up tanks, AA, infantry, and IFVs to start kicking down the door here at Echo. When we kick down the door and push them into Echo, you can immediately decide to rotate to the left, or you can decide to lurk even farther behind and then swoop in and cut them off here. Usually, I like to cut off as well as have some units go to the immediate left, have some units lurk around, and have some units stay in defense. Or just keep going. Basically, the idea is to constantly be on the move and constantly outmaneuver and encircle your enemy. Constantly be behind your enemy, constantly do something to them that is gonna annoy them, that's gonna cut them off, that's going to have like have them divert resources or attention or micro or anything to deal with his problems, right? Does that make sense? If you take Delta, I suggest nearly all of the time to keep going to Bravo. If you are too late and they stacked Bravo and now you cannot take it, do not invest more into Delta. Delta is there just to get a 2 tick for now, while and divert enemy resources to deal with Delta while you are the one that's stacking the middle and taking it from them. That's how you're going to play at the disadvantage. You basically want to even the odds by making the opponent start with one less zone and have to take it back. That's how you even the odds. And then you'll have the numbers advantage in the middle, and then you can push them out of the middle and just hold it for the rest of the game. The idea is to win, not how to... You can blitz, obviously. You can win in sub 10 minutes. You can win in sub 5 minutes. I've done it many, many times. Practically all of my games on Chemical are won very, very fast in less than 10 minutes. But sometimes they do get to the 20-minute mark, 30-minute mark. The longest game I've played on Chemical was 35 minutes. And it's because I was facing 5e, and 5e gets a really strong opener, and you're gonna have some trouble kicking them out. So obviously, you know, games can last depending on the matchup and depending on the map, but on Chemical you have the opportunity and you have the ability to end it quick. If you want to end it quick, go for it. Aim for the stars. Just keep going. Just keep going. Keep going, turn around, and attack them from both sides, and you'll see yourself winning on Chemical a lot more. It's really that simple. Chemical is not that hard to master. These 4 zones were a bit weird when the first time that I saw them, in my opinion, but it's not that hard. It's a pretty cool map. It plays well. It is unbalanced, but you can make it work from both sides. Thank you for watching. Any ranked maps you would like to see? Let me know down in the comments. See you tomorrow, Commander.